All right. Well, uh, welcome everyone. Excited about this session. This is a bonus session and somewhat of graduation of the last number of weeks we've been doing this, working together with mastering Claude AI, and it is really exciting on many levels because what we're learning is one thing and applying it is another, but it continues to change. And staying on top of it is a challenge, but it's a good fun challenge. And so anyway, we're going to cover off some really important things today. I want to make sure I'm sharing my screen. And yeah, and then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A and celebrate what we've accomplished so far. And I'd love to hear some of your stories and so on. So again, congratulations, you made it this far, okay? And I'm excited. Thanks for being along the journey. We've only scratched the surface, in my opinion, when it comes to where we are. All right. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Wayne Hinds, a technology specialist, AI consultant, also the author of the book Reclaim Your Digital Gold, which is the book was written in 2022 before ChatGPT was released on the world, and it was all about data, how important our data is, and AI, and essentially predict a lot of where we are right now in terms of what's happening in our society when it comes to being in the digital world. I'm also a thought leader and a publisher, and so you can get a hold of me here. You can learn a bit more about me at any of these places. So let's look at what we've accomplished so far, okay? Because we have come quite a distance, and I want to commend all of you on this journey. We started out with talking about the large language models, and all of these are jockeying for position. It's a horse race right now because they're all coming out of the gate, and they're coming out with the latest version and the latest tool and so on. Or model is the terminology. So the latest release of their models, and so really Claude has powered ahead, if you will, or jockeyed to the front of the pack. In quite a distance, I believe. In terms of being the leader right now, because they've really set themselves apart by, in some ways, being business friendly and really making their user interface, their interaction, and their functions and capabilities really simple, easy, and powerful at the same time. And so they've just done so much so fast already, and so we decided to tackle Claude AI. And so we spent the first week talking about understanding the power of AI for business, and whether you're a small business, medium-sized business, or entrepreneur, the tool is really a tremendous asset. And so we got into prompt engineering as we talked about how the proper way of structuring your prompts and writing those prompts for professional results. And there's right way and then there's wrong way. We talked a bit about that. And then if we got into artifacts, how to really organize your, how to create, I should say, how to create tools and charts and interactive outputs while visually seeing them while you're creating them on the fly somewhat. And that's what the artifacts model of Claude really gets us to do. And then we got into projects, how Claude projects divides your work into areas, if you will, that's context based. So, like hiring an employee and bringing them on board and updating them and bringing them to speed and so on. And then now once they know your business or they know what they're supposed to do, you can give them anything to execute on because they've already got that context. Whether it be your policies and procedures, or whether it be just how you run your business, whatever it may be, the concept is the same when it comes to projects because Claude intakes a bunch of documents as resources, repository, and reference them anytime you interact with it. And so that's under anytime you interact with it within that project, it basically has a memory for that project and all the resources associated with it. So that's the project's component of Claude, which is really a personal AI knowledge base, is another way of putting that. And then we went into building software. You're building your personal tools, turning your ideas into working micro apps. And this is was one of my favorites. From the perspective of seeing it in action and watching how you can take something, create a tool out of it, and in minutes, literally have it ready to go. We created a weather um, app, for traveling purposes, I should say, and that was done in one of our previous sessions, which is exciting. So today we're going to bring it all together, and I got to say, with although this is the final part for Claude, it's not the end of the overall courses that I'll be teaching. There'll be a lot more, so stay tuned on that. But for this one, we're going to wrap up for Claude, and there's so much more around Claude that I haven't gone into, but that's okay. Gives you a starting point anyway, and so we'll just continue down this pathway to learn. All right, so today's agenda. We're going to cover off slash commands. All right, you're probably asking, what's slash command? This is the hidden gem, in my opinion, one of the hidden gems in Claude. Okay, and that's a productivity shortcut, the command that separates casual users really from power users, and you'll be going, saying, "Wow, I didn't know that exists," and I can't wait to start using it. And then the Claude Designer, which is a new product that Claude has launched, which many of you may be familiar with, Canva, and it's somewhat competitive or comparison to that for sure. So you can create some powerful visual content, mock-ups, design directly inside Claude, no design skills required. This is really you talking to Claude or interacting with Claude and it doing that work for you. All right. And then some of the advanced workflows we'll go into. We show you, how to chain prompts on features and together, and then tools together for complex, repeatable, and professional results. And then we'll have our Q&A towards the end, and we have a free gift we want to give you. So please stick around to make sure you get that. Okay, so week 5 recap. What we covered the last time, we did a 5-step building process from idea to working app using Anthropic's console prompt generator. We, set up Claude's project for, build foundation. For your build foundation, and then we got into iterating with Claude using screenshots and giving it feedback. And you can see you don't have to just talk to it or text to it. There's so many ways to interact with Claude. You can give it screenshots. You can speak to it. You can text in there. So it really is an incredible, intelligent, powerful tool that you can interact with like you would interact with a human being or anyone on your business team. Right? Publishing, and then we showed how to publish and how to share your apps in one click. So this week we're going to put it all together and build on everything that we've learned, include, as I mentioned, the slash command, the designer, and workflows. So you've already heard me mention about the slash command. Okay, what's that? Okay, well, many of us are already familiar with that slash when you when you do a website and you put the slash in, or if it's those of you who, I may be dating myself here, who are programmers or work with the old DOS, that slash command is very powerful. Well, here Claude has reinvented it. Okay, and so this is basically something you just type the slash inside Claude chat. It's that simple. You can do it now if you're on your Claude system, okay? And this is some of the things that you can get. So, for example, some of the functionalities that's available to you at your fingertip, right? So, just typing that chat in that slash in a window. If you were to type slash new, okay, it starts a fresh conversation instantly. No clicking around menus trying to, how do I do a new chat again? No. Okay, everything in that one window. Slash model, switch between the models. We talked about the different models and how you'd use them, why you'd use them in a previous session. Well, here now you can switch between models instantaneously. When you hit that slash, Claude will show you what's available, and you can again speak to it, click it, however you choose, and of course you can choose across the different models: Sonnet, Opus, and Hakua. Okay. Help gives you access to Claude's built-in help menu, which is very extensive and feature explanation. You get into search. You can search your past conversations to find earlier workshops. You can also search the web. I mean, there's so much you can do with that that slash command alone. Okay, and then slash settings, jump directly into preferences and account settings. Slash style. uh, set Claude's response style in terms of concise, detailed, formal. I'm sure when you interact with some of these large language models and you type something, and regardless of how you structure the prompt, regardless of how detailed or how short it is, so on, and then you get this long response from the model. Well, you can limit that. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. You can tell it to be very precise, depending on your personality style, sometimes you just want give you the facts. That's a term we coin. When you want somebody to just give you the get straight to the point. Just want well, he can tell Claude to get to the point. Okay, and so that's that. We're going to do that with the slash style command. All right, and then we get into a Claude Designer. So I mentioned earlier that the Claude Designer is something new, and it is new but super powerful because it really gives your business and your brand a whole new way to get things created, design in a design way, okay, format. And whatever you can just think of in terms of design, which you may hire a designer and say, hey, look, I want this done. Now you can talk to Claude and it will literally do that for you. Whether you use it as for a prototype or whether you use it for live, which we're going to do some samples of each of these, okay? So maybe social media graphics, presentation mock-ups, or document layouts, infographics and charts, or website frames, brand visuals, whatever it is you can think of that you want to have design, you can ask Claude to design it for you using their design tool, which is a separate product from it's part of the ecosystem, but it's a separate product and not accessible within the chat or the menu, the existing chat menu. So I'm going to show you how to access that. All right. So creating with Claude Designer, I'm gonna talk a little bit about basically, here you're basically designing, Claude builds it and then you export it and use it, away you go. There's nothing fancy about, or finicky about doing, going through hoops or whatever. It's very similar to having a designer sit beside you, or you're on the phone with them or on the video or whatever it may be, and you're communicating to them what your design idea is or what it is that you want to accomplish. And and then Claude runs with that. So you're really just describing your vision. Tell Claude exactly what you want, whether it be colors, the layout, the content, the audience that you're looking for. Okay, the more detail, the better. And Claude will run with it. So, for example, create a professional LinkedIn post graphic, navy background, white headline, orange accent, modern style. That's just one example of a prompt, but you'll see that you'll be incredibly impressed with what you can tell it and what it can do. And again, all of these are iterative, right? So as you do it, it's an iterative. So you get the response, you can tell it what to correct and so on. And we're going to go into that in a demo. So Claude then generates the design, okay, and Claude creates an interactive visual using typically it's HTML and CSS, which you don't need to worry about. That's the delivery mechanism, okay. So all that means is that okay, once it's presented, the output could go to a PowerPoint or could go to something else. But the initial visual is HTML, CSS, and just rendering right in front of you as an artifact, which we already talked about what an artifact is. And then you iterate until it's perfect. Okay, so you ask for changes conversationally. You make the header larger, change the blue to orange, add my logo, that type of thing. All right, so we'll get into those demos to show you. And then we're going to go into advanced workflows, how you chain everything together. This is where the real power is. You start with the product project and context, okay, and then you get into prompt engineering. You do artifacts and design. And then you get into the slash command. You apply your slash command, and then you publish and share, right? And so this is really one of the best system, flow when it comes to an idea right through to production and delivery, and in literally minutes. Okay, so that's efficiency. Okay, this is where these LLMs take us to, is a world of efficiency like we've never experienced before, because typically things happen in thought, then to communicate, then to knowledge and labor and all this associated with it takes time, effort, um, and resources over which is necessary. But now these tools condense this into literally once you communicate very clearly what you want in sometimes minutes or hours or sometimes minutes. All right, so real world workflow example. Okay, um, open your content project. All right, and then we're going to go through this as an example, working demo, I should say, shortly. But you open your content project, you tell Claude. Claude will instantly know your brand. It knows your tone. It knows your audience. Because remember, as we established, you give Claude the content, the context on the project. That's what projects are wonderful for, is that you're giving it all the reference materials that it needs there. And then you paste your raw idea or data, a new article, data set, or rough bullet list, whatever you have. Okay, you get that in there, and then you generate the content, whether it be blog posts, LinkedIn posts, um, email newsletter. The prompt does the heavy lifting for you. And then you build the visual with the designer, social graphic, infographic, and then describe and build in this all in the same chat. So we talk about the slash command, example here, you use new for the next piece. All right. So once you're done, okay, I want to do the next thing. Let me slash new, or you go and navigate to find a new. But as we just showed you, I talked about this. These slash commands can save you a ton of time. So your complete Claude toolkit, which we're going to make available to you, okay, as a bonus for today. And that's the prompt engineering, the artifacts, all of this was packaged nicely into something I'm going to give you at the end of this session here. So, the personal software slash commands, Claude Designer, all of that I will have to you that you can keep as a reference and use that at will. So let's get into a live demo. Okay, so I'm gonna just pause my screen and share.
Uh, can I ask a quick question?
You can go right ahead. Yeah.
I believe it was either the first or
Okay, so all right. So now we're at the Claude screen, and ironically enough, I fired up um, a new instant of Claude, and here you can see actually they're promoting it on their front screen. The new So this is a Claude design, but we're going to get into that shortly. But let's just go right to the chat, okay? And in the chat, we're going to demonstrate the slash command. So here you can see. By the way, have any of you heard of the slash command? Is this new for you? Okay. So here you can see as I just type in slash, I can now type in what I'd like to see here. So new, okay, it's a new skill, and it gives me a little bit of description here. So I want to say new, I select that, and I say a skill creator. All right. So anything that I want, it will come up and it will tell me exactly what to choose from. So that's one way. Okay. Another is the slash for. And once I hit slash, it asks you which one of the did you want. Okay, you want to add files, you want to create skills, and each it has a little description beside it here. And so, maybe I want style. Okay, and give me a moment. I'm going to style, and then I'm going to say here, um, show me. I'm just copying here instead of having to retype what I've already done. So okay, and then that will bring up the display for my response for this. Okay, and how do you want me to respond? Okay, so it'll then ask you, just give me a short, just want a short, concise response. I want a detailed response. I want formal or I want casual. And so in this case here, I'm going to ask it another question, but this time I want it to be concise. So going forward, please be concise. Noted. Okay, so there. So that keeps in memory. And now I can ask it, okay? So any question I'm asking going forward will be just that. So I'm going to say, what's the best way to follow up after a sales meeting? No more running on. No more running away with the responses. I just want the facts. Just get to the facts. All right. So, this is just a simple example here, of course, but, that's kind of what I would expect if I ask somebody, now if I want more information, I can go back to them, but this is a great way to control the responses. All right. Let's try the next one, which is slash search. Okay. And with the slash search, we can search virtually anything. I could certainly ask it to enable the web. Okay. And I'm going to do that right now. Slash search. Okay. Show me the web search toggle and demonstrate it live. So just by putting that slash in front of it and telling what I want, okay, it's doing the search in the web for me right here. Okay. Okay, so keep findings from current sources, follow up in 24 hours. Fresh. So it went out to the web based on the last question I asked it there, and it pulled up just by putting that slash in front of it. Okay, so your subject line. So it's just giving me facts, information that's out on the web. It's compiling it, but it's coming back and not giving me paragraphs of information because I already previously said to it, be concise in your response. So I've harnessed it in some ways, okay, in terms of the response. So like a horse can run, as fast as you want it to go, or it will run as fast as it wants, or you can tame it to do what you want it to do. And that's in some ways that's what these slashes are for, right? So in this case here, I've asked it for that. So I've asked to search the web in real time. That was real time, okay, not just using the training data. Okay, and that's the results that we get without even having to take a coffee break. Okay, some other options here is like model, MODEL. Okay, so I'm switching model, right? So I could ask it to, switch to another model. Um, okay, all right. I just asked it to switch here, but I could ask it to actually switch. Now you can switch the models down here. That's how we get to those models. But as I said, you can switch right in here directly by putting that switch in there. Another thing, there's a couple of others like settings. I should just copy these instead of trying to type them in. Settings will jump to, the settings. Um, help will jump to the help. Okay. And so this is really how these slash commands become incredibly useful. The beginning um, of your chat. All right, let's move on to another. Let's go and do another demo. All right, so now we're Claude Designer. And actually, I already have Claude Design already open here in another tab. So I'm just going to flip over to that. And I, I believe I did share that. Let me double check to make sure it is in fact sharing. Yes, okay. All right, so under Claude Design, again, if you're familiar with Canva, um, Canva is really a paid version. You can have the free version also too. Well, Claude mimics that in many ways, right? In terms of you want to do a quick graphics, you can ask Claude to do that for you. And Canva has also baked into it AI interaction too. So they do have AI interaction with their product now. But this is coming from a different angle. You're using AI to create the result for you by using the prompt. So let's do this. Let's create one while we're together here, right? So I'm going to just say, I want you to create. Okay, so create a professional LinkedIn announcement graphic for my business. Okay, and I'm giving it design specs. Now, I've just copied and pasted this in here, and it's a little lengthy with the 4-point prompting that we talked about in one of the previous sessions. But we can do something real simple to get it going. But just as an example here, I just want to be specific. So I'm going to just watch what happens when Claude starts building this in the conversation here. Okay, this is an artifact. It's literally doing this in the form of an artifact. Oops, it's a little slow, so I just reloaded. Okay, so an artifact basically is a live piece of visual content that Claude creates, rendering directly inside the chat. Okay, so now it's asking me about the business. I'm going to just, I'll give it my consulting business. Okay. Um, and logo, what should appear in there? I'm just going to put the business name for now. Um, or I can just leave it to omit. All right. And let me just put the answer in here and say go. Yep. And then continue. Okay, so Claude has a few questions for me based on my prompt, and that's what I'm responding to here. But again, it's meant to be iterative and interactive. So here, again, this is not Photoshop, but it's very similar. For those of you who remember Photoshop, it's not Canva, but very similar, incredibly powerful. So I've only given it a prompt, and there you can see what it's created for me. Okay, live in minutes. In this case, actually less than a minute. So this is a design that I just gave it the prompt with the color, the text that I wanted, and I can give it a lot more, but look how quickly that was done. And I can share it directly from here too. It's still going. Actually, it's still working, just finishing up. While that's finishing up, we'll do one more. Okay. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just refine it a bit. So I'm gonna put my chat in here, and while it's almost done, but I would like it to make the headline a little larger. And let it have finished up. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll make sure and get to that. All right. So there's what the design looks like. Okay. And I'm going to ask it to just make the headline a little larger and just change the call to action for me so to another color. So I'm putting that in the chat. and it's working away. Okay. After this, we'll do one more example, and then, all right, there you go. So whatever you can think of, imagine, whether it be colors, whether it be text, whether it be images you want to include in this, you can tell it, give it instruction, place my image in the top right-hand corner or place it in the background. When you're working with the tools like Canva and Photoshop, those you typically are using the mouse to move things around to where you want it. The beauty of this is you can speak to it and tell it where you want it. And even you can take a screen capture of it, mark it up, and say, move this to here, move this to here, as if you would on a piece of paper when you're dealing with someone, move this over here, move that over here. Give it back to the design, the Claude, and Claude will take action, literally from those design markups or those that specific text that you gave it. All right, so let's do one more after this. And then I'm going to show you a specific use case example for me that when I use the result that I got from that. So give me a moment while this continues on. Let me just check to see if there's any comments in the chat while we're waiting. Okay. All right, so that's almost done. And let's create an infographic after this. Okay, so again, this is something it's created now. I've asked it specifically for LinkedIn. Now, if you do a LinkedIn post, the dimensions of LinkedIn posts are different from the dimensions for TikTok or for Instagram or for Facebook. And Claude knows these things. They know the dimensions. They know the size. You don't have to resize it anymore. You don't have to, because all you're doing is you're giving it specifics. You're telling it where you want it, what you want, and then it will do the rest for you. Okay. So what you're seeing flashing here is just the work in progress as it makes the change, because in the artifacts, it's literally making the adjustments on the fly. Okay. So there you go. It's modified it slightly. Okay. Now let's create another. Okay, you can rename it, you can change it, a variety of things you can do there and of course up top I've called it LinkedIn announcement, and I can go ahead and say create another blank page, and in here I can create a whole new prompt. So or another element. So let's go again and let's create another design. Okay, and this time I'm create a simple infographic showing the 5 ways that Claude saves business owner time. Again, I've given it 5 things to consider here. So let's hit start, and based on that, I'll get a nice simple infographics that displays these 5 elements. And no different if I were to go to Designer. Well, in terms of what I'm looking for in terms of the design initially anyway. If I were to go to a professional designer and tell it what I want, tell the person what I want, pay them, and they came back with a first draft, and I would look at it and go, oh yeah, I like this, but I want this change, I want that change. That's what you're working with. And here you go. Here's the infographic here. I didn't give it much criteria, as I said. It didn't tell it, it knows my brand colors, it knows the colors I like to work with. But outside of that, it really took liberty of creating this here. You can see the 5 ways in which Claude saves business owner time: writing emails and proposals, research and summarizing, creating reports, social media content, and it goes on, right? Customer service templates, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So this can be posted right away. I can save this. I can edit it. I can go up here and edit it. I can make tweaks to it. I can present it, go into presentation mode and present it. Or I can share it, with a staff or friend or family member or a coworker, right? And I can go in here and mark it up, okay? And here you can see I'm doing the changes, right? So it's just a powerful tool to get you going in a design. So let me show you what what I've created recently in a use case scenario specifically for my business. So this is my other business. I have a publishing company where my book was published under that brand, and it's called Truth Communications, and it has my colors are green and blue, very live colors and so on. So I gave it my website and the color palette, and I said, go ahead and create all of the brand identities that I need for my business. Okay. So based on here are the colors, the color patterns. Okay, and I've got all the codes that I can give to any designer to recreate something that's specific to my brand for that business. All right. I've got the typography, okay? The fonts, in other words, that I want to use, all of it Claude generated. So what I did is I gave it my website, I gave it some documents that I've got around my business. I fed it in, and I said, create an entire brand document for me based on my specific business. And here you can see the recommended fonts, what that you pair together. These are you pay thousands of dollars even just for something like this. And what we've done in minutes, what I did in minutes, is got something that is incredibly professional that I can use to make my business consistent, no matter what it is that I'm presenting, whether it be a promotional material or a website redesign or design or updates. We're going back to this reference document. And of course, I can feed this back into Claude 2 in a project where anything that I do for my Truth Communications business, I tell Claude, Claude will automatically reference this document. And so here you can see, I'm going down this really quickly here. This is your components, right? The button styles, iconography, the different types of icons that it's recommending to use, the do's and don'ts. Okay, what to use here, what do not use when you're comparing when you're using colors or when you're using the logo, or it just goes on. So this is really, and then a quick reference guide. So this is really a tremendous way that I literally would have paid thousands of dollars for it to get this kind of branding for my business to build consistency each and every time. And Claude did this literally in minutes. And so that's an example again of how you would use the Claude design. There are many others, and that's just a couple of a small taste of what Claude Design does. So let's move back to Claude, and we've got one more demo here. I'm going to wrap before we wrap up. Okay, and this is the whole workflow, bringing the workflow together. So this last demo, we're basically going to tie everything together that we've covered over the last number of weeks that we've been together. So I'm going to show you a complete workflow from raw idea to a finished deliverable with the visuals literally in minutes. All right, so okay, let's demonstrate this. So we're going to start by creating a new project. All right, I'm just going to copy the name of the project as content marketing. So I'm going to, let's open up the projects. Okay, and I want to create a new project, and here we're going to content marketing, and basically in this content marketing, I'm just going to put in there what this is all about. All right, so I help small businesses use AI. My audience is entrepreneurs and consultants. All right, and the tone that I want Claude to remember and interact with me on is for professional but conversational. Again, that's just the description of that particular project that I've created. And under this content marketing project, here's again kind of just a summary of what we covered in the past. It keeps us memory. The instruction set can go in here as to how I want it to interact with me. It's I said conversational, right? So I'm just going. I'll leave that. I'll just save that there. Okay. I'll put that repeat that in there. But it could be very detailed in terms of what I put in there. The files are all of my reference materials that I want that relates to this particular project. All right. And interest of time, I'll leave that for now. Okay. And so let me copy this, and I'm just going to write again, just in interest of of time and not having to rewrite. I'm just going to copy and paste this in. So write a LinkedIn post about this insight. Most business owners think better than AI. Sorry, most business owners think better AI results come from smarter AI tools. Research from Harvard Business School shows that 40% of the improvement comes from giving Claude better context, which we've talked about. Context is everything when it comes to engaging with someone, especially and these AI tools. Okay, not upgrading a model; it's really context. So all right, so let's do that. And we're going to say, okay, hit. All right, here's a LinkedIn post that's specific to my needs. And it has gone through, based on what I've given it as a starting point, okay, it's gone into the detail of that. So, Claude used basically my tone of the project, no extra instruction needed, okay, and essentially provided a very strong message here for LinkedIn. I can take this, copy this, and put this on LinkedIn with an image or without an image, and um, incredibly powerful at a very quick turnaround time too. All right, so now let's say we want to build an image now. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, let's build the image. So let's go into here, and we say now create a LinkedIn carousel image, an infographic. Remember the infographic we created? So it'll tap into Claude's design skills. It may not use we didn't go specifically over to the design tool, but it will tap into again, into the tool to create an infographics that will be tremendously powerful here. So notice how, basically one conversation, one topic, and it's just continuing on. Remember, we were doing this in the project mode. Okay, so in project mode, it's keeping the context in place. It knows we're talking about LinkedIn. It knows what we're talking about business owners, right? And it knows my color scheme, my colors, and everything for this. And here we go. It's created these three slides. Okay, that when you upload to LinkedIn, it'll be the carousel to slide through one by one at a time. Look how powerful that is. Okay, here are the three slide carousel. Okay, in my navy colors, new design. In fact, I'm going to use these later on and post them on LinkedIn. Okay, here you can see it came up with each of those for me based on, right? So your AI results don't need better model, needs 40%. AI improvement comes from context. These are incredibly powerful messaging. All right, so now we've got our post, we've got our carousel, slides, images, and now let's do one more thing, okay? I'm going to start a new conversation, okay? /new. Okay, and this is basically same conversation, but I just want to start new. Want to start a new task? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so now it's ready to start something new. What we just discussed, and it's ready to move on to something fresh. In the same project, that is. So I can begin to ask it or talk to it about something else. So in a matter of minutes, we've demonstrated how you use Claude to create the prompt in a project, create the carousel, and get ready to deploy this. And so I just want to you know, share with you how powerful this is, which we quite often are not don't realize how much power these tools have. And I'm just going to go back to my slide here until we begin to start using them. And so now that you've seen in this demo, how the slash command works, as well as, whoops, I think I'm not sharing there. Is it sharing? Yeah, we've seen how the slash command works and how Claude uses its design tool, right? So the key takeaways I want to leave you with, context is 40% of AI quality. Context is everything. It's no different than if you were hire someone new in your organization, bring them in, and you need to spend hours or some cases months training them on your business context, everything that's important to your business, and so on. So context is where you put that context under the projects for the so you get projects, prompts, and knowledge equals it's really your competitive advantage, and that's a Harvard Business quote or position. Slash commands are your instant return on investments. Just by typing that slash in any Claude chat, you can do that every single day, and you have access to. Now, I only showing you four. There is a plethora of slash commands, and they're all that's a whole new session if we wanted to go into a session unto itself about the slash commands. But I will give you a list of them at the end of this session that you can take away. Some of them are very common and easy to implement. Design is no longer a barrier. If you can think it, you just speak to it, and it can design for you. And at least you get something as a starting point. Whether it becomes your final or not, you can certainly iterate it to get the final. But if you want to use it as a starting point, or just for creating infographics, as we just mentioned, or creating an image or a logo, or even a logo, Claude Design can do that for you. So Claude Designer creates professional visuals from plain English description. Workflows, workflows multiply your output, chain your skills together that we've talked about all the projects, the prompting, the artifacts, the design, you increasing your productivity by 10x easily. Right? Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. And then you then essentially become an AI empowered professional with these tools and the confidence to use them. Imagine where you can take your business or your profession to. Okay, so your challenge I would leave you with open a Claude projects that maybe you've already built one. Use the slash command to discover those today. Use the slash and the style and build a visual for your business using Claude Designer. Whether it be your branding or whether it be an image or logo or something that you want to do for your business there, start using the tool to be able to create this and publish it. These materials available to you, and for your whole direction of where you want to go. Use Claude to help you with that, and some of these elements here, the design and the prompting and so on, can really help navigate the waters for you in an amazing way. Okay, so share what you've created. Okay, share it with your client, with your colleagues, or your on LinkedIn. And I just want to encourage you to keep growing. Here's some resources that I've made available. AI and ML book for beginners. This is talks about the history of AI and how it's impacting our lives on a daily basis. And it really is more about how important AI has developed, but also to looking back at its roots. And then AI readiness check. If you want to do an assessment of your business to see if what the needs are, where you are, and just go to AI readiness, AI-readiness-check.2020.com, ic.com, and you can just complete the survey there, and it'll give you some next steps. And it's a good way to reach out to me. We can help you with implementing AI or navigating the AI pathway through that. And then Reclaiming Digital Gold, my first book that was written in 2022 about AI and data and how it's literally changing our world. And our data is the fuel for AI. And now there is so much evidence to that. In fact, AI is running our world, will be running our world soon. And so I'm coming up with the second edition of that book. And with that second edition of the book, I'm also making a scanner tool available to you that you can search the web yourself to find out what the internet knows about you so you can regain control. That's coming in the second edition of the book, Reclaiming Digital Gold. So you can go to reclaimingdigitalgold.com and you can even sign up to be on the waiting list there and even continue to find out what's going on with the upcoming version of the book, which will be out in the coming months. Connect with me for a strategy session, team building, or just stay connected. And if, you can certainly book a call by going to my Calendly account. That's calendly.com/whinds, or scan this to take you to my LinkedIn page. So that's it. Let me see if there's any questions. I just look in the chat here and I can see there's a question already. So let me to that. And I'm going to get to the question. Give me a moment. Let me stop sharing.